So before we did kind of a straight-on kid's face, we're going to go with an angle now, a face kind of looking either to the left or the right. So what I'm going to do is kind of do a structure of a head. And like I said before, what I generally do is I generally go the top part of the head and kind of then the jaw area, and that kind of creates a structure and a shape to it. Just like we did on the other area where we kind of split up the sections, we're doing the same thing here. And then you can throw in that's where the ear might go. You're looking at kind of a brow area, probably here. Your nose is going to fit in here, depending on how you want to do it. And then your mouth. If you go ahead and play around with these, the way I'm doing this, you can probably come up with your own different style. I'm going to go ahead and just show you on this particular one. Once I darken it up, I'll put some black over it, show you how it'll kind of develop here. So you have a head area, the ear, we're looking at the nose here. And it's got kind of a brow. You got to think of bone structure too with this. Sometimes the way you draw your lines, it kind of gives you the illusion of some bone structure just by adding little, lines to it. Put an eyes here. And see, like an eye, you could do the basic eye like this, but for these kind of eyes, sometimes when you want to have some life in the eyes, there's different ways of doing it. You usually do by lids. I do it like there's a top lid and there's a bottom lid, and then you put the eyeball and have it touching the top lid, and it kind of gives you the feel of an eye. Then you kind of add more to the lids, and it gives you more of a feel. And don't feel like you need to close everything off all the time or that. It's not necessary in the drawing. It's kind of suggested sometimes. So don't feel like everything has to be perfect. And with eyes, there's so much going on with eyes. You keep adding little lines. They look like kind of like wrinkles and stuff, and that's okay. All right. You add that little white dot in there to kind of give it a little bit of a gleam, so you get the impression of a little bit of a gleam. Well, so if you go here, you can add cheekbones. I was suggesting one over there. And it just adds a little bit more to the figure. Okay. Once you have the head down, you can also, give him a hat or do whatever you want here. I'm going to give him some hair. I usually start with the area that's covering his head first, and then just kind of work around and fill it in around where I imagine it could be. And you want to add some movement and some exaggeration. So kind of stretch him out. And these little sides here I'm putting in, I'm kind of just imagining those might be kind of the jaws. Then here's the chin. And this will be the top of the head. And the picture ear here, ear here. What I'm going to do is have a guy who's kind of screaming or yelling. Okay. And then, just as before, just kind of fill in the lines here. And you get kind of an idea of how to illustrate stuff. Sometimes to show shock, you kind of put the pupils dead center in the eye, and that helps you indicate, oh my goodness, you know, or a shock kind of feel. Let's see. And, you know, the ears are always can make a character real interesting, you know. You kind of have to get a feel for how ears look. You just kind of take a look at some ears. You know, and also it kind of pays to look at how other artists do it. I'm a member of the AAEC. If you look up AAEC in Google there, it's the American Association of Editorial Cartoonists, and it's a really good place to go. And you can see different styles of how people draw faces and how people, you know, illustrate expressions, because it's also nice because you see a lot of familiar faces. You know, you'll see presidents and politicians and people you see in celebrities, and see how they're depicted by professional artists. And it's an interesting tool if you're trying to learn how to draw figures. And you start to learn kind of how faces react when they're stretched out, like this one, you know. Of course, this is cartoony, and, you know, a face isn't generally going to stretch out this far, but at least, you know, you can build the illusion of how it would look if it did. And then just whew. You know, under the eyes, I always kind of put these shadows under the eyes because you think of the eyebrows and how your eyes are inset a little bit. So you start giving the illusion of depth in the image by using these shadows. And the same thing goes with portions of the face that are actually, you know, exposed more to the light, that are sticking out more. It's like cheeks, you know, and the nose. So give him some green hair just for the heck of it. Anyway, so there you go. You know, with the colorizing and the shapes, and a lot of this stuff is just kind of free. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, these lines aren't as clean as they could be, but it still tells a story, and you still get an impression from him and the way he looks. I mean, this eye is not close to being as similar to this eye, and this little part here is kind of a mistake just from screwing around, but it adds a little bit of, you know, oddity to the figure. None of that stuff is wrong. It's just you know, free-handing it. And I know I'm kind of fast, but you know, you got to be able to embrace your mistakes and feel good about them, because they add uniqueness to whatever it is that you're doing. Especially if you start making the same mistakes over and over again, then all of a sudden it looks like you meant to do it. But anyway, so there's a couple more faces, you know, and we'll do some more. We'll do some actual full figures in the future, and maybe even do a full-fledged editorial cartoon. If I have an idea, maybe I'll show you guys how that'll work. All right? Well, thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed it.